Hey, what's up, YouTube? Mandrake here. I kind of felt like doing a video, and I haven't set up any kind of real recording equipment. I mean, I still have my old stuff that I used to use, like my Yeti and stuff, but I haven't got around to setting it up because this is really kind of an off-the-cuff thing. But I wanted to talk about shadow work. So for those of you that may not know, I used to have a channel on here that was growing reasonably fast, but um, for reasons, I wanted to get off of it because I felt like I had more personal work to do. Even though the purpose of that channel was to kind of grow in real time and and share my journey, so that it was very very isolating in a sense. And so specifically, there's this community online, like we would call it the Narcissistic Abuse Recovery community. And I had a channel that was kind of in that vein. I didn't really know that existed until it kind of found me, in a sense. But regardless, I still see some of the same faces and some of the same talking heads, if you will, in the narcissistic abuse recovery community, and I just feel like maybe there is a need for a voice, because if we were getting better, why are the same people sticking around? Why are we not going on and living our lives? So I wanted to talk about shadow work, and I feel that there's a disharmony at the world at large. If there are probably many of you that feel it, that there is a worldwide disharmony in the way we live, and how we are carrying on as a society and as a people, as a race. But beyond that, this microcosm of, let's say, the narcissistic abuse recovery community, perhaps there is a motivator or a profitability in not treating the cause, but rather the symptom. I am of the opinion that the issue is a disharmony of the spirit. It's a sickness of the spirit and a malady of the mind. And those of you who have any, I'm just going to say, if you would have asked me 3 months ago about spirituality, I would have told you I have none. So it's a lot for me to say that I feel like there's a spiritual sickness. And part of the shadow work is to explain what the shadow is. So in Jungian psychology, right, like Carl Jung had the theory of the shadow. Now, a shadow is basically the unacknowledged parts of a personality. We come into this world, if you subscribe to the same things I subscribe to, with personality. It's the nature, with the genetic code for who we are as people. Now, the nurture side of it is what is reinforced and what is positively reinforced, what is negatively reinforced or punished, what is praised and what is punished, right? Now, when a child cleans up their room, and we praise that behavior, well, perhaps they become an orderly adult. They become an orderly personality construct. However, let's say, for example, in a moment of unhealthy guidance, a child wants to confront somebody or to engage in conflict, and rather than healthily guiding a child or towards healthy conflict resolution, it is negatively reinforced and is told, no, you're not allowed to stand up for yourself. No, you can't go and yell at so and so. You can't punch back. You can't do this. And so you grow into a person who has, in this small example, might have a problem with the appropriate expression of anger, because anger is conflict. I mean, it is the ultimate. Saying no is the ultimate challenge. Like I'm willing to stake more on my convictions than you are, and I'm willing to match you. I'm willing to play chicken with you until one of us chickens out. So the theory of the shadow, and it works kind of like this. So if you can imagine the positive reinforcement. Hey, sweetheart, this is my life. The possibility. So you have this persona, right? You're born into the world as this being. So this is you. You know, the light that gets cast upon the personality, the positive reinforcement. That's the conscious part of who you are. That becomes your conscious personality. Who, you know, I'm a nice person, blah blah. You know, and it casts a shadow behind it, right? And the thing about the shadow is, depending on how you look at it, it casts a shadow in a different way. And so the allegory of a shadow was chosen on purpose, that it's very difficult to identify, it's very difficult to understand. And so that healthy conflict resolution, that appropriate expression of anger, becomes that person's shadow in our example, and that is their unconscious personality. And so the shadow expresses itself in areas that may not be consciously intended, and that is the disharmony of the person that needs to do the shadow work. And I think just about everybody could benefit from shadow work, and I encourage you to please go look it up, because it is such a huge thing. I mean, this is not new stuff. It's just, it has fallen out of the public discourse. And so typically in shadow work, there is three things. There's three events. You need to, one, identify the shadow. And for example, in our example, that would be, I have a problem with the appropriate expression of anger, or I have a problem with conflict resolution. I have a hard time standing up for myself. Well, you've just identified an aspect of your shadow. Two, you need to confront your shadow. Now, that is probably the most difficult and uncomfortable parts of shadow work, is confronting your shadow. Because let's say in our example that you have a problem with the appropriate expression of anger, or with conflict resolution, or standing up for yourself, that you would place yourself in situations in which you must. Now that's uncomfortable, because you don't like to do that. It was negatively reinforced. But the problem is, when you don't stand up for yourself, when you don't speak your mind, when you are not a powerful person as you can be, a whole harmonious person, that bad juju, that negativity expresses itself in other inappropriate areas of your life. You know, let's say, at work you got a bad coworker or a bad boss, and you just take their BS because you have to. It's your job, and there's a complication there. But then you go home and you're miserable, and you just take it out on somebody that has no purpose, has no business having that kind of garbage spewed out of them. So that is the hardest part of the shadow work, is the confrontation. And let me tell you, to tie it back to the narcissistic abuse recovery community thing, your adversaries in life are your greatest teachers, because they are the ones that will tell you what is your shadow. And whether it's fair or not, a lot of times it's exaggerated and blah, 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 especially when we're talking about a cluster B personality disorder. But your adversaries in life, whether it be the bad boss or the shitty coworker, or a bad relationship, a terrible abusive husband, abusive wife, and in that we talk about the cluster Bs, because that's usually where that expresses. But they are your greatest teachers, because they will point out every flaw that you have without reservation, and sometimes exaggerated. And that also, you need to also understand, okay, this is true, this is not. You need to gain discernment, right? You need to discern what is true and what is not. And they say, oh, you're an animal abuser or whatever, or you're a child abuser. And it's like, well, if you know yourself, if you're in harmony with yourself, you're going to say that's bogus, because I'm not those things. I know who I am. When you are in harmony, you know who you are. And that brings us to the third thing, assimilation. Shadow assimilation is when you identify your shadow, you confront it by doing things that are outside of your comfort zone and doing the work, the personal growth work, whether that be therapy, whether that be, giving up smoking, giving up drinking, whatever it is. The third is the assimilation, and that is making that shadow reintegrate with your conscious being. And then that disharmony is resolved. So shadow work, I think, is long overdue to be discussed in this community. Now, it may have already. I don't go on YouTube and look at narcissism videos. I don't. I haven't for years. But I still talk to people that I met during that time of my life, and I felt like this could be beneficial and something I like talking about, because I've learned a lot, and I like helping people. And if this helps anybody, even just sparks the curiosity that they go and look this stuff up, that is beautiful. That is what we want to do for our fellow man. And like I was saying, and I'm not trying to disparage anybody, but perhaps there is more profitability or more money to be made in not treating the cause. So anyway, I might have rambled a little bit, but hopefully there was a common thought throughout all that. This is off the cuff. This is on my personal phone. This is my work phone. I haven't set up, like I used to have green screens and the lights and stuff, and I used to do a lot of editing and stuff. And I'm not saying I'm not going to do that in the future, but it would probably help if I continue with this. But yeah, that's all I had to really say. And I'll probably talk about it more, because I'm a huge fan of shadow work and of Jungian psychology. So anyway, I'm going to end it there. Hope you guys are doing well, and hope you enjoyed this little chat. See ya.